Okay, hi everybody. We're live. Welcome to Tea and Chat. Merry Christmas, y'all. Happy Hanukkah, happy holy days. Welcome. We're going to explore different topics in these live chats each Friday at noon. Thank you for joining me. Tea and Chat with Julia Harrell. I'm a clairvoyant teacher and a spiritual guide. I love helping people on their spiritual path, all types of spiritual intuitives, seekers, highly sensitive people. That's my people. I'm one of them. Empaths, psychics, clairvoyants. It's a good place to sharpen your skills, learn some new techniques. Today's topic, overcoming test anxiety, practical tips for HSP and intuitives. Our format here in this 30-minute talk is that I welcome you to use the live chat rather than the comments and tell me where you're from. If you'd like a little mini read, ask a question, and I just might give you a little mini reading on your answer. So, as we get into today's chat about test anxiety, how many people have felt that anxiety going in to take a test? You feel like, all right, I got a book to remember, and then I go in, I take a test, and everything seems to go out the window. All that studying, all that stuff I did just seems to go out the window, and I end up nauseous and wanting to leave early. Any of you sensitives out there had that? Probably many of us have been through that. So, we're going to talk today about some of the symptoms and some solutions to that. Again, I welcome you. Please use the live chat. And if you have questions for other topics you'd like to discuss, I welcome those as well. So, test time. I had this a lot as a kid. I mean, I made decent grades, A's and B's. I didn't really care that much about trying to make all A's, but I knew I needed to get into college and stuff. So I would study the stuff, right? You get the book, you read the stuff, you study the stuff, and then you go in and take a test on the stuff. And I thought it was just me. I heard growing up, you're too sensitive, you're just too sensitive, you're too sensitive, it's a problem, stop doing that. And if you're a sensitive person, if you're intuitive, if you're tuning in to this program, and you're probably like me, I'd walk into the room and all of a sudden my brain gets scattered, palms get sweaty, and heart beats faster. And I go, what's going on? I didn't stop to think about it at that time. At that time, when you're in high school and college, you think tests are the most important things in the world. Pro tip, when you look back now from a seasoned age that I am, see the gray hair, then you can realize the test didn't really mean anything at all. It's who you are as a person inside. Anyway, go to take the test, and one of the keynotes is sudden overwhelm. All of a sudden, I was feeling one way. I wake up, I have breakfast. I'm like, all right, gonna go nail this test, at least make B or something, that'll be fine. And sudden overwhelm when you walk in the room. Like, I didn't feel it 5 feet outside there, but then I walked in the room. So, wait a minute, what happened when I walked in the room? And so people talk about test anxiety. Oh, it's just part of it. By the way, next week we're going to talk a little bit more about this with performance anxiety. So, those of you that are performers, I'm a professional musician, I've done many live performances, and that there's extra things you can do in that case too. But so if you're taking a test, test anxiety for intuitives, and you recognize walking through that door and all this sudden change. Let me give you a different example of where this happened to me, just to illustrate it's not so much about the test as the energy of what you're picking up. And I'm going to talk more about that as we go. But as an example, and maybe I've told this on some other reels or something, but I remember not too long ago getting on a plane and I'm excited to go where I'm going, right? So paying attention to how I'm feeling sitting there. I love the takeoff. It's like part of, I love roller coasters. So it's kind of like that. And doing the takeoff and stuff. And then all of a sudden, it's the same thing. First step here, sudden overwhelm. All of a sudden, whoo, fear energy here. But I know enough by now, as a kid and a teenager taking tests, I did not know anything, even though I thought I did. Um, Now, as an adult and having practiced these clairvoyant training tools that I've been studying since the 90s, um, I knew enough to go, wait a minute, sudden overwhelm. Wait, click, let me check. Is that mine or is it someone else's? Because I was sitting there looking forward to going home, and I'm kind of going through my head of the, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'll get settled and do this, make these phone calls. And then all of a sudden, whoo. And so you start feeling it first, and it feels like anxiety and sweaty palms and like heart's racing, and you get a little scatterbrained, and you're like, you just kind of get pulled. I got pulled into the energy of the anxiety, and I'm just experiencing anxiety. I'm in the middle of this anxiety whirlpool. And then I go, wait a minute, I've been doing this long enough to back out of that and check, is it my anxiety or is it somebody else's? And right away, I could see there's tools for all this. But right away, I could see, oh, that's like 100% not my anxiety. And then, so just curious, I looked around energetically and I went, oh, it's this lady here to my right. She's experiencing anxiety. She's dressed nice. She looks like she's confident, a successful person, but she's experiencing anxiety. I don't know what her experience is, if she's been in an accident or she lost someone in an accident, or some people they've had that in past life where there was an airplane accident. I experienced that a lot with people. But the sudden overwhelm, and I look and I go, is it mine? No, 100% not mine. And then I look over here and I go, oh, it's this lady's. And then I can get right into the tools of clearing it out. And I was able to change the energy in like a minute. Let's see, Aaron's here. Aha, you found me. You've def said, Aaron says, I've definitely had performance anxiety hit like a wall just before a competitive performance event. 100%. I have too. Absolutely. She goes further to say, do you recommend any intuitive strategies the night before a test for an HSP? 100%. Yes, I do. I'm going to give the practical tips here in a minute, just to paint the picture. So, in that example of being on a plane, I wanted to give that example because it's clear it's not about taking a test and I'm nervous about the test and I have to get a good grade on the test because then my college scores depend on it. And then whatever I do in college depends upon my success in the world. Looking back now from this perspective, that didn't make a bit of difference. Yes, there are things you can do. We're talking about tests today. We're going to talk about performance anxiety a little more next week. I've had many, 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 many musical performances. But for tests, there are things you can do the night before. There are things you can do in the moment. Let me paint the picture a little more here too, that with one of the things I would come across in taking a test that didn't make sense to me because I'm pretty logical oriented and organized. I like to organize things. And as a teacher, that's helpful because I can see the end goal and I can break it into parts. So that's kind of how my mind works. But then I would step into the test and just immediate mental fog bank. Like, where'd that come from? It wasn't there this morning. I'm remembering all the things and all of that. And yeah, it's the same thing. If you get into the room and then I have to check around first step for solving this problem, check in how much of this energy is mine and how much am I becoming aware of, like dialing in on a radio dial, the frequency of other people's anxiety. Mental fog I would experience, which was confusing to me, mental fog of walking into a room and going, I I'm I'm a okay smart person. I mean, I'm not the sharpest tack in the shed, but I can get by. And where did my brain go? My brain just melted when I walked in the room. So many of you probably felt that. Daniela says, even though I'm sensitive, I never had a problem during exams. Can can having a lot of certainty in this space help me? However, my mom and stepdad do get super nervous and anxious. Oh, I'm glad you didn't have problems during exams. Danny's very, very psychically sensitive, as is Erin, who's commented. And can the question is, can having a lot of certainty in the space help? 100%. Well, think about the certainty of knowing who you are and what you're doing, being able to pierce the veil through all the other noise, psychic meaning of the soul. And I'm using the word psychic here, including like when you walk in a test room, some of the psychic noise is other students' mind, all their thoughts that's going, oh no, if I don't get this, I don't get into the right college. And if I don't get in the right college, maybe I can't date that person. Maybe I don't get that job with my dad. Maybe I don't have a successful career. Maybe my whole life goes down the drain if I don't get that test. But if you have the certainty, oh, I'm taking this test, this is mine. There's all that noise. I'm going to pierce the veil. And I'm so determined or stubborn for some. I'm so determined, I'm going to pierce through that noise. It's not that you weren't tuned in and aware of but deciding to pierce through it and continue. Erin's saying performance anxiety. Yeah, it's that same thing in performance anxiety. So we talked about sudden overwhelm, the mental fog. One other part is the actual physical symptoms. And this is kind of how to tell if it's mine or not mine. And we'll look at steps of how to deal with it too. So self-doubt, what's happening there? So you get into a test situation. We had standardized tests as kids. Anybody else have standardized tests? Super fun, where everybody gets put into these A, B, C, D boxes of how you do. Are you going to get into the gifted and talented program? Are you going to go back to the other programs or whatever? There's a lot of stress on that. Um, but interesting self-doubt would come in there. If you're thinking, if I don't get the test right, then I'm a nobody, then I'm not worthy, I'm not enough, not enough, not enough. That's always a tricky thing I see a lot of spiritually sensitive people run into, and I'll do probably a couple talks about that, not enough. Interesting though, it's not that you're not enough, you're actually too much because you're tuned in on these other levels of awareness, these subtle levels of awareness, tuned in to where other students that are taking tests are super freaked out. Maybe they're getting a lot of push from their parents. You better make the grade on this one so you can get into the college that grandma went to or that whatever. And all of that collective anxiety, it ends up turning back on us because I'm experiencing this anxiety. It can go into self-doubt. I see this a lot with intuitives. One other aspect you might notice, overwhelm, mental fatigues, physical symptoms. Also with physical symptoms is that your hands get sweaty and maybe palpitations and shortness of breath. I've also seen regularly abdominal distress. And I've even worked with college students that had such abdominal distress that they had to seek heavy medical treatment. And of course, all the tests come back, you're fine, there's nothing wrong with you. But I look at the person and I go, wow, they're clairsentience or clear feeling, that ability to feel energy around you, which is like a radar that's going out and it's tapping in. How are you? I care about you. Okay. How are you? I care about you. Okay. How are you? I care about you. How are you? I care about you. That clairsentience, clear feeling, in this student that I'm thinking of here that actually got hospitalized, that second chakra was, whew, this is where the ability to feel other people's energy is housed. And I could see that that ability was wide open. And so it's like having an antenna, or if it's a radio dial, dialed into, okay, I'm curious, how do other people feel? And I'm going to turn that volume knob up to 110. And then you walk in a room and go, why am I upset? Why am I nervous? Why am I nauseous? Feeling all these other people's energy is a complete overload. And when those energies that you're picking up on, that you're aware of, you're not absorbing, you're aware of, and you're matching. But when you pick those up, that's where the if you watch clairvoyantly, the energy comes into that energy center that's in the belly, and this in the lower belly, and this is where our digestion is. And so if you've got these other students' anxiety energy sitting there in your belly, in your digestion, and you're going, I feel I feel nauseous. And then you go, well, I need to solve the nauseousness, take some anti-nausea medicine. Maybe I need to go to the doctor, and we take some scans and go, nope, you're perfectly fine, perfectly healthy. But your nervous system is overloaded. That can also be tied in here too. There's nerve plexus, nerve bundles that tie into the endocrine, that tie into the chakras. So energy overload, if you're bottom line, if you are as sensitive, if you're psychic in a way, not meaning that I'm telling the future, that's only one small band of the psychic phenomena psychic toolkit. Psychic, again, meaning of the soul. That's just one small band. So if you're psychic, if you're intuitive, if you're sensitive, HSP, empath, you're tuned into these other energies around you. This first one that lights up a lot for other people is the ability to feel energy. And you go in to take a test, and if you have that ability that's jacked up because you're curious, you're interested, you're sensitive, it's just naturally tuned up, then it's like being in a room with the monitors. I have these big monitors here on 10. You can't even stay in the room with it. And knowing where that energy flows in the body and how it kind of plugs into the body, then we can see that would cause stomach upset, perhaps nausea, palpitations in the heart, sweaty palms, and mental confusion. I'm a mess. Well, maybe you're psychic, but don't know how to manage those abilities yet. If you're new here, be sure and like, subscribe, and comment. If you're in the live stream now, be sure and use the live comments so I can see that and maybe give you a mini read here. I'll give a little mini read to Erin if you're still here. And if you have other topics you'd like to hear about, let me know. Please also visit the website, juliaharrell.com, and join my newsletter right now in December. I have the biggest sale of the year on private readings and healings. New classes are coming up in January, so you'll get that information on the newsletter. So I'm delighted you're here. We're talking about test anxiety. We've been talking about sudden overwhelm, mental fog, physical symptoms leading to self-doubt, and fatigue. How many people have felt fatigue afterwards? I took that test and all I did was just sit there for an hour, but now I need to come home and take a nap for 3 days. Sensory overload into nerve plexes in the body that go into the nervous system. Nervous system gets overloaded like too much. If you were to plug in too much voltage into a wall, bzz, short circuit. It's going to do that energetically for you too. All right. Whew. So what do we do? Let's get into that. Hello, Molly B. Identifying with the feeling of the mess. Yeah, Molly B., you have a lot of abilities open too. It looks like you use the intuitive part of tuning in. You also have your hands chakras open. So creativity, highly creative. Did you know that for creative people, highly creative people, taking test is that's like a whole different ball game for creatives. Taking tests just means you remember something. You read a book and you remembered it and you took a test. It has nothing to do with creativity, ingenuity, and any of those creative aspects. But Molly, you have your hand chakras are really lit up, which shows me a lot of creative energy. You could use that for healing if you want, but you look very strategical um, in how you approach things too. Like there's this geometry that shows up in front of your face. That's like if you're working with somebody and it is. Molly says, "Oh wow, the hands. Yes, I use them for sure." And she puts some hearts out. Yeah, so your hands are really open and aware. You can use that for creativity if you like art or working with plants or something, music, whatever. But it's also can be used for healing, different types of healing. And that doesn't mean you have to put a shingle on your wall that says, healer, come in here. If you are going to do that, make sure you know how to manage your energy first. You don't get waylaid. But Molly, it looks like you see in front of you, it looks like to me like this geometry bubble. And what that translates to is like seeing the whole. Like if you're working with somebody that's a client or friend or something, you see the whole of that being. And there's the different aspects in the geometry and stuff. And so seeing the whole part and then going, oh, this part is like that darker where there's a missing circuit. And then to be able to target and help. Oh, the missing circuit, let's get this supplement in there and have you do an exercise on self-forgiveness or something. But you can see the whole of the person and then kind of dive into where's the little missing component, and I'm going to help them with that missing component as I'm eyeing the whole. So it looks like you have this ability to see the whole that way. And the thing about geometry is it's a it's um it's a higher space of seeing energy. And Molly says, yes, I can relate to that. Yeah, I mean, geometry, you go, wait, what? When we're learning to read energy, and that's what I teach, learning to open up your natural abilities in an easy, fun, safe way. The closest to the body is the colors. So we start learning to read colors. It's closer to the physical body. And as you go higher in vibration, then you can get to other things that look like, it kind of looks like the Matrix, coming down. And then there's symbols and there's geometry. To me, the geometry is kind of like the building blocks. And I can even see the geometry that goes out into the universe in a way that like a spider web, like you touch it a little bit over here, it makes waves and ripples out there. But it's a different way of getting information. Molly says, thank you, you're welcome. Yeah, if that doesn't make sense to you, don't worry about it. But for some people, there's just different ways of interpreting energy information, and some people see them in different ways. Dillis is in the house. Hola, happy Friday, happy Friday. She's an innovator. She's a change maker. She's a get her done kind of gal. Dillis comes in and is literally the phoenix rebirthing. And through that rebirth, she's experienced personally rebirths through areas that she's interested in: compassion, caring for others, caring for others. I love caring for others. Let's care for another. Let's get in a relationship and care for others. Different ways of caring for others. You go through that process of the phoenix of the rebirth and coming out of that. But what is that? It's transformation. So Dillis is someone that loves transformation. I'm going to transform from one form, one way of being into a new form. And after that's been done for a while, kind of personally, okay, I need to go through these lessons before I can really help others in the next level. Right, in the next level. Dilla says, thank you, love. Oh my God, yes, all the time. Lord. I love that. Yeah, so once you transform personally, then you can help people transform. And the transformation is in your energy. It's this kind of teal green layer. Is it this color? It's maybe more vibrant than that. But that energy is in and around you. It's in the second and third layer of the aura, having to do with relationships, right? Relationships and personal power. That's where they're located in their body. And that green, that teal green shows me you have that ability kind of built in that you can have for yourself and then share with others. So the ability for transformation on a personal level, maybe it's romantic, but personal, the second chakra, relationships, and third chakra, I'm counting from the bottom up. So this is down near the hips and then in the center of the belly. Third chakra, also personal power, having my own power. So this is where these energies sit in your body. This is where your superpowers are, and then you can help others. She says, that's true. Teal color. Yeah, it's kind of this, but maybe this is a little lighter, but maybe a little darker than that. Yeah, so if anybody else wants a little mini read, comment in the live section. It's a 30-minute class. We have a couple minutes left if anybody wants to comment. Let's get into what do you do if this is happening to you? You get into a test, I'm overwhelmed, I'm sweaty, I'm going to throw up. Rah, what do I do? Ground yourself. First step, ground yourself. So grounding, you can think of like a big trash chute. You're sitting on a big trash chute, but not just goes a foot down or so. It's got to go to the center of the earth where the recycling station is, transmutation station. So imagine a big tube or a cord or sitting on a tree trunk that goes to the center of the earth. Hit the on button and let that start to release anybody else's anxiety you have picked up in the room that you're in. You're aware of it, you're not absorbing it, but you're matching it like a string vibrating. So that would be your first step. Put a grounding cord on yourself and then take a look and decide how much of this energy, anxiety I'm picking up is mine and how much is other people's. Okay, and I'm going to decide, third step, if it's not mine, I'm going to flush it down that grounding cord, that trash chute. Comment, y'all better work with, Dilla says, y'all better work with Julia if you never worked with her before. She's awesome. Don't hesitate to. Thank you, sweetie. That's very sweet. Where did I find you, Dillis, or where did you find me? I don't remember, but it might have been something online. I think I was on her podcast and she's like, "You're my teacher. You are now my teacher." I'm like, "Great, let's go." First step, boom. So if these are helpful for you, please do like, subscribe. I enjoy your comments. I comment back personally. If you have other topics you want to cover, next week topic is going to be performance anxiety. So we'll keep going on this topic a little bit. And oh, Dilla says alignable. Yep, I was on there for a bit. I'm still on there. If you're not on the website, please get on the newsletter so you see the specials coming up. And there's a live workshop on a Zoom, January 11th, followed by a 3-part series on Zoom where we'll take a look at the year ahead, but not just future forecasting. This we can look at kind of globally what's happening, but look at your own life personally, what's happening, but then clear the palette, like clear the space. So if you look ahead and you go, oh, there's something bumpy coming up in May. I don't know what that is. I can't see, I can't read. I'll teach you how to, start developing your tools, your techniques, but also there's tools here to, okay, I see there's trouble in May coming up. You can kind of clear that space to have a more graceful experience of whatever you need to go through. These tools are not meant to be like nothing bad is ever going to happen to me. It gives you a lot of tools to deal with whatever does come, but to be able to have it in a more neutral way. Like if that's slated, then I can experience it in a more graceful manner. Like if I'm slated, targeted by spirit or whatever, to have this experience because I'm going to learn something from it, that I can look at it through that lens. Oh, okay, what can I learn from this experience? I was talking to a student yesterday, one last thing here, that she just started classes with me and she's starting to have all kinds of awakening of abilities, hearing, direct communication from spirit, clairaudience, seeing things in her meditation, And for her, she was having like future forecasting too. She saw that there was going to be an accident, and then she was like, "Oh no, oh dear, that's upsetting to see." And then she asked specific good questions. This is important. Said, "Who was it?" And she heard the name, the specific name, and it was a loved one. And so she knew, "Oh, oh my dear." But then she went into action and she called in helpers, angelic beings in this case that she was drawn to, help my loved one go through this experience gracefully. And she was able to step back from that and go, okay, I don't know what this means yet. And I don't know if it's true yet. 2 days later, sure enough, that loved one went through an accident. And the way that the car was hit from the side was over just enough that it hit the tires and not the door. Had it hit the door, it would have been very damaging for the driver, but it hit the tires and the driver was completely unharmed. So when the emergency people came, they were like, "Oh man, buddy, if that had hit you that much further over, this we'd be in a different story right now. You'd be hooked up to electrodes and there'd be broken things, and this would be a whole another story." So she had enough knowledge to not be a victim to what she's aware of, because she's taking the training, she's learning that we're always in control of what we're aware of. And if we're aware of other people's emotions during a test, then you can go into practical steps like grounding, separating out what's my energy, what's other people's energy. Now, there's a whole lot more steps that you can take, including adjusting your chakras and stuff. It does take practice, like anything. You want to get good at something, you practice it. So if this is interesting for you, I hope you'll come in, get some training. You're welcome to sign up for a free discovery call. We'll have a one-on-one chat and see a good place for you to start. So start by getting on my newsletter. And that's going to end today's stream. Thanks so much for coming. And I hope to see you next week. We'll get into performance anxiety. Thanks for coming.